Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today I wanted to cover my OCD journey in three different parts. So I wanted to cover some details about going through various themes and various kinds of fears from the very beginning, from when I was very young till today. And I want to talk about some aspects that I may not have covered in some other videos before. So I want to go in as much detail as I can. So here is starting that journey. But before I go on, please subscribe to the channel. Please show us some love. Comment below. Let us know your thoughts, and explore this channel when after this video as well. When you're done with this video, so. My main theme has been contamination OCD, which I have talked about in several other videos, but there were many other like kind of smaller fears and these little things that were going on in the background as well that actually all added up to me suffering from OCD in a very exaggerated, blown up way when I grew up. So I think I'll start this entire journey from when I was a little kid. So I think one of the first fears that I remember kind of having was from the hospital or from going to the dentist. And it wasn't a fear of, it wasn't health OCD, but it was a fear of, and this strong aversion to disgust. So, like door handles at the hospital or door handles at the dentist's office. When I used to go home, I used to throw away my clothes in the laundry when I used to come back from like any kind of health clinic or hospital related space. And I definitely got that from my mother, because she would always be like, no, like there's so many like people coming in into these places, so you don't know. And it's just like, forget diseases, but it was also like just the thought of like thousands of people touching the same door handle and you also doing them, and especially in a health space where people are coughing and sneezing and then not really washing their hands and then using that door handle. So just that thought was just gross and disgusting. So whatever clothes that I wore to the dentist's office or to a hospital, I would come home and throw them away, because that was also kind of advised by my mother, because she would be like, don't do that. Or like the shoes that I would wear to a hospital, I would kind of wash the sole, or just like walk in water so that they could kind of be washed a little bit, and I don't take hospital feet inside the house. So that's kind of like where I remember having some OCD tendencies creep in, because I would get very I would get a very strong disgust response and a strong this kind of response, this icky response uh, to public spaces like that, and that would also then translate to public bathrooms. I think even till now, I think I have used public bathrooms in total like six, seven, eight, maximum 10 times in my life. I don't know, maybe 10 times. I've not, maybe washing hands. Yes, I've done that like frequently. That much is fine. But otherwise, using public toilets or public bathrooms, I have not done that, because I would get a very strong disgust factor, because I'd be like, so many people are using the same space. I don't know. I can't do that. So that's where kind of I think my journey began from, that element, and that was then taken forward to like many other things. So this linked to then a fear of throwing up. Now, obviously, when you're kids, when you're in school, as kids, you don't know how to explain to your teacher that you are feeling unwell, or you're experiencing like just a bad stomach or something like that. So, or nausea. So a lot of my friends, like growing up, I've seen so many people in my class just throw up on the floor, and I would find that the most disgusting thing ever. One time in the morning assembly, this girl threw up like right in the middle of assembly, and it was just like, oh my god, what's happening? And I would always, because then it would be like the sound of that, and then there would be this really bad smell in the classroom, and nobody would want to walk from that area where someone would have thrown up, and it just like created a very strong, again, disgust factor. And I would I would try my absolute best to not even get a slight glimpse of it, because because I used to think that if I had a look at that, I would not be able to get that image of someone having thrown up out of my head. It would stay stuck in my head. I would be disgusted forever. I might even start associating foods that looked like it or something like that, and it would just like gross me out to the max. So I would, and like interestingly, I've never thrown up in school. Basically, that never happened to me. Even on days where I may have felt a bit nauseous, it was never a thing. I never threw up. So I used to find and I never wanted to be in that position that a lot of my classmates were in. I never wanted to throw up. I never wanted to be in a position that where I would have to be embarrassed or ashamed of, being in that gross, disgusting position. Like in my head at the time, I don't judge people for it now, but back then I used to judge people for that. I used to judge my classmates for that. So I didn't want to be in that place because I thought it was a very shameful, embarrassing place to be in. It's like, it's worse for me. It was worse than like tripping in public or something like that. So, and there was always that kind of like ickiness associated with that again. And then like some classmates who were also just like not the most hygienic. Obviously, as children, like you kind of create a mess, and you're not the cleanest when you eat. You're not very particular about if you have the flu and you are dripping, and then like as children, a lot of children don't have that sense of like how to properly clean themselves. So stuff like that, and it's just like, and those things were so prominent to me. I would not want to sit with someone or hang out with someone who was not clean and hygienic, and like some people who would eat and I could see food stuck in their teeth and stuff like that. I would not want to hang out with them. I would stay away from them. I would not even sometimes want to shake hands with them. That's how averse I was to that kind of disgust all the time. I would never use the school bathroom as well, and I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, but I just never felt the need. It wasn't that I held anything in. I just never felt the need to go to the bathroom. It was never really a thing. And I guess part of it might be because I was so disgusted, my brain also probably didn't send the signal out that, oh, you need to go to the bathroom. I think I may have used a school bathroom, maybe again, that I think literally maybe 3 times in my life, in my entire school life. I think I may have used the bathroom maybe just 3 times, because again, the smell of the bathroom, of like a school bathroom, the cleaning chemicals that they use, it would just be like not the best. And it used to be like, I don't want to. And then there would be water splashed everywhere by students, and I just wouldn't like that either as well. So there were a lot of elements that I as a child would really notice and be like, I don't want to associate with that. I don't want to be near that. Associate is an important word over here, because that will come in handy in understanding a lot of my later parts of the journey as well. So yeah, I have my notes over here, so I'm looking at that right now. So yeah, there were a lot of like, there was a lot of disgust around cleanliness, and then a lot of discomfort, because what a lot of people, when with contamination OCD or with like other stuff, they say, I don't fear things, but I'm just disgusted by them. So disgust is not a fear, I just don't want it. But it does translate into kind of a fear as well, because you then become fearful of experiencing disgust, because you think that disgust will be there in your body, in your mind, perpetually, forever. You will not be able to move past that feeling of disgust. So you don't want to experience that. And that discomfort that it gives you, you don't want to experience that discomfort. So it's fear of uncomfortable sensations, fear of feeling uncomfortable, fear of discomfort, fear of disgust, all that stuff that is coming into play over here. But again, we will elaborate on that further. So, but that was majorly what was happening. But when I started to kind of obsess over not wanting to throw up in front of people, that's where their other compulsions started to come in as well. Like I started to, and because I had some bad experiences at home with food poisoning. So as a child, and this particular dinner I remember at my aunt's place, which I still really remember, is everyone was in the middle of dinner. I started to feel really like, not that great. And then I went into the bathroom and I had to throw up. And I was telling my mother, I'm feeling nauseous, I need to throw up. And I went to the bathroom and I started to throw up. And then for the rest of the evening, for the entire night, I was just constantly feeling nauseous. Even after throwing up, I wasn't feeling great. It felt really bad. And for some reason, that night is quite prominent in my memory. And then there were some other nights at home where I remember waking up in the middle of the night feeling nauseous, and it's a really, like, I still don't like that feeling where you wake up in the middle of the night and you are feeling nauseous. You're still in the, like, half asleep, but you're also just like really not feeling great in your stomach, and it's a really bad combo. So, but I had some of those where I had to wake up in the middle of the night at like 1 2 a.m. or something like that and just go to the bathroom and throw up. And it would be, and just that feeling that you get when you are retching, and when you are, and I know, sorry, this is graphic probably for people who have this fear, but like, but when you are retching, when your entire body is convulsing, when you are throwing up, it's not a nice feeling. And as a young kid, that made a very, very strong impression on me. I just completely detested that feeling. And so, also having seen some of my classmates throw up in class and stuff like that, I became very conscious of what I ate. I actually started to keep track of what I ate, because in my head I thought that some food combinations don't go well together because they make you throw up, or they don't gel well. So therefore, you have to avoid that combination of foods, because then you'll end up throwing up. And I don't know, when somebody, this was such a random, like, fact that somebody threw out. Like, I remember someone saying, my brother, saying that, oh, I don't know, I think I heard that if you have uh, Coke and ice cream together, you can die. And there was, I don't know, there was, I think, some rumor or something like that, I don't know, that some kid maybe had that and he died or something like that. So that, I remember, that was latched in my mind for quite a long time, because I genuinely thought that having those two things one after the other would, can kill you or make you really, really ill. So I would try to make sure that, when I used to go for dinners and stuff like that, if the dessert was ice cream, that I did not have Coke before that or something like that, or at least I had something after having Coke, so that I have ice cream, so that there's something in between. But then again, there was another instance at home where I had some kebabs and for dinner, and then, like, after dinner I had some bananas, and that night I threw up for whatever reason. But in my mind, that became a link. That was like, oh, I must never have bananas after kebabs or something like that, because for some reason that combination is going to make me throw up. So there were certain food combinations I would start to just avoid, and then I would, because my parents are doctors as well, so so I would then ask my mother for reassurance constantly. I remember that very well still, that where I would be after her and I would be like, can I eat this? Can I eat that? If, for example, if we went to somebody's house and they served drinks, I would be like, oh, I would walk over to my mother and be like, can I have this juice? I just had some, I don't know, biscuits at home or something like that. So can I have juice after that? Will that make me ill? And I started to keep track of the chronology of things I ate, so that I could make sure that no combination of foods made me ill. So this was like really, these experiences really, really made me anxious and fearful, and I wanted to like constantly make sure that I did not throw up. Obviously, it ended up happening many times, because you cannot. I think as a human being, you cannot avoid. You cannot live life without having thrown up a few times. It happens. Then something linked to that was also like being like these processed milk that comes in packets. I would, and I remember specifically the brands as well, like the Nestle milk. It used to make me extremely nauseous. Like processed milk was like absolutely the worst for me. Anytime I had it, even if it was in coffee form, or if it was a chocolate milkshake or tea or anything, it would make me instantly nauseous. So I started to think I was lactose intolerant actually. And maybe I was as well, or maybe it was an anxiety induced thing as well. I did start to like not feel great, and whenever I had something dairy, any kind of dairy product, it started to make me quite ill. It started to make me feel very heavy. I did not feel great after that, and there was like a point in time where and I used to love dairy products because I loved how they tasted. I loved milk, I loved yogurt, all these things, and I still do. I still have every single day I have like a glass of milk for breakfast, but also before going to bed. Like it's just a thing. But for some time, I completely started to avoid what do you call it, dairy products, because they would make me very ill, and I would think that I don't want to feel nauseous. And one compulsion that I really started to do was whenever I would feel nauseous, I would start to do a lot of deep breaths. I would deep breathe like anything, like a very very fast machine. I would do that. So because because some for some reason that kind of gave me a little bit of relief, and I thought that I could completely avoid throwing up by breathing so deep. And sometimes I did stop. I did stop my throwing up just by like breathing so much. I would breathe so much that it would breathe so deep so much that it would make me it would make my hands numb. It would make my head and my hands completely numb for some reason. I don't know if it was too much oxygen, like too fast or something like that. I don't know. I don't know the science behind that, but it would like do that. And I would be in a very particular position on the bathroom floor so that I don't throw up while deep breathing. And I would sometimes just I would fall asleep on the bathroom floor because I was so tightly holding on to like, no, I don't want to throw up kind of thing. So, and I mean sometimes it just worked as a by chance, but sometimes it didn't work. I just threw up because my body was like, no, you need to get this out. But I'm pretty sure a lot of people probably have just logged off this video right now because there was a lot of talk about throwing up. But yeah, I mean, that's where it kind of like started from. So again, there was the disgust element was a massive, massive part of this. The third main thing that I really remember very much so still is being very particular about haircuts, because I kept my hair long. I liked my hair long, but at the same time, the other thing was that I just didn't like going for haircuts because people would mess up my haircuts a lot. Like they would not know how to, and I really had long silky hair. If I still grow my hair, it is still that way, but barbers would not know how to cut my hair, and they used to really really mess it up. I used to have like sometimes they would do the bowl cut, which I really hated. Sometimes they would take off the sideburns for some reason, like it would, or just completely take all the hair off the back, and I would just look stupid. And at times I have been made fun of like bad haircuts in school as well, so I became very very conscious of that. And there was so much shame that I had developed for having a bad haircut, that I, for a long period of time, I kind of avoided it, or I would have a haircut after every like 6, 7, 8 months maybe, because I would delay and delay, and I would be like, no, I don't want to mess it up. And then I randomly developed a fear of like scissors, like the hair cutting scissors for some reason. So that's also part of why I kind of just didn't go to for a haircut. I developed a random, then there was like a random fear of like going to the dentist completely, not just like because of the disgust factor in the dentist clinic, but also like, oh my God, I'm going to experience something very painful. Even though as a child, I would go to the dentist, I would open my mouth, they would, if they needed to take out like a milk tooth or something like that, they would do that. I would have no issues. But I don't know why there was, oh, I remember why. Because my brother at some point was like, oh, do you know that this one tooth that you have that is kind of crooked? They will have to put a lot of injections in there and then take it out because otherwise it can't come out. And that like freaked me out like anything. And for the longest time, for many, many, many years, I developed a very strong fear of going to the dentist just because of that. It was just this one thing that he did as a joke, but my OCD brain latched onto that and I just like avoided going to the dentist like anything. Um, then again, the other shame related fear was getting scolded by a teacher because I was a good student, um, and teachers liked me and everything. So it was never like my behavior or anything in class was never really an issue. I was never really a problem child at all. So for me to ever be scolded or like a teacher telling me no or like that I was wrong about something and stuff like that, it would be a very rare thing, and because it was a rare thing, it would make me feel like I have committed like the biggest crime in the world, or I've done the most like I've done the worst thing ever. And I've just tainted my entire personality and my entire character as a student, and I've tainted my entire reputation. And now the teacher might not look at me the same way. She might think I'm also one of the bad students. She might think that I've lost all my ability to be like a good student and stuff like that. So I would like I remember instances of teacher, if I was like talking a lot in class, because that was the only complaint that my teachers had. I would be very talkative because I'd be talking to everybody and just distracting everyone while they were doing the work and stuff like that. I remember a couple of times some teachers like were very just like um they kind of flashed out at me or something like that for saying or doing something, and instantly from head to toe, completely saturated in shame, completely saturated in guilt. I would hate that feeling. I would get a big lump in my throat. I would start to like have a heavy stomach. It would just be like the worst possible thing ever that could ever happen to me. So that's another random fear that I developed. So I was a very like rule follower kind of like because I thought, oh my God, what if I do something wrong? And then the teacher doesn't like it and I'm scolded for it. And I just never wanted to be wrong. I just never wanted to be told off by any elder. I always wanted to be a good person, good boy, um, um, well behaved, all that kind of stuff, like a very goody two shoes. Although I had my like naughty streak as well, but for some reason nobody ever saw that. Everybody saw me as someone like, oh, he's such a nice, good person, and I was like, okay. And then so over here you can see that a lot of elements of disgust, shame, embarrassment, guilt are kind of like becoming this one ball of OCD fears. And one other big aspect of this was a fear of being a sexually perverted person. Even when I was very, very young, obviously, like when your elder siblings are watching movies and they are like kissing scenes and stuff like that, I would feel like, oh my, and then obviously they stay in your mind and stuff like that. I would think that, oh my God, I'm such a disgusting person. Why am I thinking about these things? Why am I like fantasizing about these things? I shouldn't be, and these are such adult things. I am a disgusting person and I must be sexually perverted for even thinking about or wanting to watch those things, even though it's just like human curiosity. So I mean, yeah, but at the time it just made me feel so ashamed and guilty within myself. And again, that element of disgust that, oh my God, this taints my reputation as a person. This taints the entire image that people have of me. They don't know that behind the scenes that I might be this sexually perverted person who likes to watch like a guy and a girl kiss. No, like it was the most scandalous thing for me. So, and it was also then linked to like religious OCD as well in that sense, because obviously I've grown up in a religious household, and that again, that also just kind of came into the mix, because it was like, okay, yes, there is that element of disgust as a human, and that element of disgust also comes in other places, but particularly with, as far as like sex is concerned, this is also religiously not a good thing. So what if God is not now unhappy with me as well? I should be like a good person. I should be a religiously good person. I don't want to be a sexually perverted person. But then at the same time, my brain would be like, no, but you like these things. So it was a cycle, and I just like, I would not want to experience shame and guilt at all in any shape or form. It would be one of my, it would be the things that I would want to avoid the most. It was not my strong suit. It was really not my strong suit to deal with shame or guilt. So now you see, there is that element of disgust from like a germs perspective, not a health OCD perspective, because I was never really, I mean, well, actually, fear of throwing up and fear of having food poisoning is kind of health OCD. Yeah. So there's that element of disgust from the hospitals and stuff like that. But then there's also that element of disgust with throwing up and just that ickiness factor. And then it comes up with like making sure that no food that I'm having is going to make me ill. Um, and and then there's also shame and guilt attached to that disgust, because what if I get ill out in public, and I don't want to be that person, I don't want to be seen like that, so let's keep that away. And then sex comes in, and then religion comes in, so it all interlinks to each other, bit by bit by bit, and built up this like, and it just really built up a lot of like massive fear in me. And I would say this still wasn't maybe me experiencing full blown OCD like I did as an adult. Um, but yeah, for that age, it was pretty intense, because I remember those years of my life being like, not those years. I would say that's a misrepresentation, because I have, I mean, most memories that I have are quite excellent, actually, really fun, really nice. But I remember these bouts and these pockets here and there of time where it was very intense. It was very, very intense in terms of fear, compulsions, almost panicking, being extremely anxious, just not feeling great health wise, but also not feeling great um, like as a person either. Um, and then uh, at the age of 14, I experienced sexual trauma when I was a child. And I'm using the word trauma loosely over here, because I've talked about it in a completely separate video, which is called Trauma in OCD. I would recommend you watch that. But I will leave this video over here, because from here on out, my journey with like OCD, anxiety, kind of takes new shape and form. So that I will reserve that for part two. This was just part one of me growing up as a child with anxiety and fear and a lot of irrational beliefs and compulsions that I obviously did not know was OCD. Obviously, as a kid, I didn't know any of that, and nobody else even knew of that. But then I slowly come to that realization as I enter my teenage years. So I'll see you with that other new topic and take the story forward in the second part of this video. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, if you have any questions, pop them in below, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.